We have a very large project on the go at the moment, and that is our new deck in our backyard. So I'm gonna show you a couple of images here of what our deck looked like when we first bought this house 3 years ago. You'll see that the deck basically took up the entire backyard, and we really had no space to properly utilize our outdoor area. So it is now fully dismantled thanks to the help of ARC. And this is what it currently looks like. Richard has been pouring these footings. They've got rebar in them to reinforce them. And this is coming down into the lower section of the yard. Say hi.
Hello.
Are you having fun?
Hey?
Are you having fun?
Having fun.
I didn't want to see him. I didn't think that would go very well if he saw me and then. So we started this deck project about 6 months ago. We didn't actually start rebuilding the physical deck, but we started going through the permitting process with the municipality. And I knew that that was probably going to take quite a bit of time. I'm a real estate agent, so I have a pretty good understanding that the permitting process can definitely be very time consuming, which is why, unfortunately, a number of people do opt to not get permits for the work that they're doing. Sorry, I'm just gonna get my camera set up. So we started going through that process about 6 months ago. We had to get a variance approval for the new deck because we wanted to build our deck similar to the existing one, which was closer to the fence line than what the zoning or the bylaws would allow for. So we applied for a variance, and that was actually granted quite quickly. They grant variances based on hardship. So the hardships that we were trying to prove is that because we live in the Rockland area, our backyard is predominantly bedrock. And so we don't really have a lot of usable space, and we wanted to have a really functional floor plan with this deck that we were building. And so the bedrock was one of the hardships. The other hardship we had was that we need an egress from the main living level of our house out the back door. And so we need a deck because the back door goes out on a second story. So the deck was part of our fire safety plan. And the other aspect was that we could also egress from the upstairs if we ever needed to get onto this back deck, because the upper portion of the back deck would have been underneath our office window. So should we not be able to get down the stairs for some reason, we would have been able to get out onto this back deck. Anyways, they approved the variance actually pretty quickly. That wasn't too problematic. And then it was just waiting on the permit for the official deck once the variance was in place. The permitting process, it was about $200 to apply for the permit, but we did get engineer's drawings, which cost us probably about $300, which is pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things because Richard had already drafted the deck in SketchUp. He's pretty good with Google SketchUp, and so that saved the engineer a lot of time. He just had to kind of take those drawings that Richard had and just make them a little bit more detailed. You don't actually have to have engineer's drawings to submit to the municipality, but we just wanted to expedite this because it was already taking so much time that we just thought, heck, if we get engineer's drawings, it'll just make things move along quicker, because we knew we wanted to start the work on our deck when the weather was nicer. So it's June now, and to work on it and have it completed before the summer was over so we'd actually get to enjoy it a little bit. So that all panned out really well, and just time consuming. panned out well, but just very time consuming. But totally worth it, I think, at the end of the day, because having a deck this large, if it was done without permits, it would detract from the value of the home. Having gone through this permitting process, it should add value to our house that we did take those extra steps to make sure that what we're doing is totally fine. We still have a few other projects on the go in the inside of the house, so I will give you a few updates on that as well. There's a shelf that we're still waiting to go in our kitchen, so I'll show you kitchen space. It's a bit of a mess in here at the moment, but Richard is going to be putting a shelf here. I want to have a few little objects on that, and I think it'll just look really nice in here. Good evening from my backyard. Looks pretty awful at the moment, but I think in about 6 weeks it's going to be looking pretty amazing.
Eden.
Yeah. And?
Dada.
Dada? Mama?
Who's this little guy? Eden.
Aiden. Can you say Aiden?
Yeah.
A couple of other things that I think are going to make this renovation very transformative is that previous to this reno, our backyard was just full of bushes and foliage and a pond and lots of different rocks. And now Richard actually removed the pond, he removed the trees. I'll show you a before photo here. This is one of the listing photos when we purchased the house. And so there wasn't really any usable space back there. You can see that the lower portion of the deck just felt very separated from the yard. And now with all of this coming down, Richard purchased some sort of drill where you can actually drill the tops of rocks off. So he spent a lot of time meticulously lowering the rocks that were in that backyard, which will therefore allow us to lower the deck, which will very much, I think, make the backyard feel so much more open, so much more expansive. And then also we cleared this lower portion, which right now in some of these images just looks like this little gravel patch. But that is going to be a flat grassy area, because that was my number one wish list with this project, was for Aiden to have a place to kick a ball. And we are going to go with artificial turf for that lower area, which pains me to say. We have a west-facing backyard, but unfortunately, we've been told by a few different landscapers that it doesn't get enough sun, that the grass will not do very well back there. So we are going for artificial turf, but I'm gonna make sure that it's a very real looking one, the best I can find. And I just think it's just gonna be so transformative. Oh, I can't wait to share it with you guys when it's all said and done. I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found that helpful. It's actually been a very interesting and cool process to go through as a real estate agent / homeowner, going through all of these variance approvals and permit approval processes have given me just so much more firsthand knowledge that will be helpful to my clients, I'm sure, in the future. Thanks so much for watching.